Did you hear that?
Yeah,
Yep.
I heard that.
It was from my computer. Sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, I should mute my phone. That's a good idea. I know that. I like your notes. You were a doodler in school?
Mm-hmm. We're in college. I don't remember high school.
Okay, and we are live, so go ahead and take it away. You might want to just chat for like a minute before you really get going, because it'll probably take people a few minutes to get the camera up.
Okay. Well, it's a lovely afternoon in Lolo, Montana. Jamie has just come in from feeding the horses. How's the herd?
They all look really good. They were calm today.
Were they?
Yeah.
And what did you use to feed the horses with? The big cart, the little cart? Did you try the truck? It's
No,
a
I
mud
did
hole
not
out
take
there.
the truck through. I just used the little cart.
And that works okay?
Yeah, it takes a little longer, but
Yeah.
I've got a system worked out so that it's not too hard.
Well, good. We're having to use the carts, Michelle, because it's Mud City down here instead of frozen snow.
Mm-hmm.
Every truck on thawed soil with frozen ground underneath equates to really bad mud.
Oh, yes.
Mud. April in Alaska, that's mud season.
Oh, yes, it is. Fortunately, hopefully we won't have any more mud between now and April.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to assume that everybody is with us. So welcome to Days at Dunrovin, Dunrovin Ranch in Lolo, Montana. I have with me this afternoon Jamie Bradenbach, to my left here, who's our ranch manager. And on Skype with us is Michelle Coburn from Anchorage, Alaska. Michelle talked with us last week about zoopharmacognosy. And we are going to discuss this afternoon setting up some experiments with our barnyard crew of equines. We call them the barnyard crew because they stay close to us during the winter instead of going out with the main herd to the big winter pasture. And they consist of 2 Shetland ponies, Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie's an older Shetland pony and recently had eye surgery. She's Clyde's mother. She's a sweetheart. Everybody loves Bonnie. She still gives children's rides. She's just a doll. And she shares a paddock with the donkey divas. That would be Miss Gertie and Miss Maud, who, of course, are very opinionated and lots of fun, and I'm sure they will eagerly display their likes and dislikes. And then in the other paddock, we have Cool Dude, who is our Pony of America, large white pony with lots of black spots. And then Captains Lewis and Clark, they are half Halflingers, half Shetlands. They are our dynamic duo team that pull a beautiful cart and pull a harrow and are just great little ponies. And the goal of our work with Michelle is to do a couple-week experiment with our to see which of the medicinal herbs they need for whatever ails them. And this is a self-selection process, so perhaps you would go over that again quickly, Michelle. Why do we allow the animals to tell us as opposed to prescribing something for them?
Of course. Thank you, first of all, again, Suzanne and Jamie, Mackenzie, all of you there at Dunrovin. This is kind of different from what most people expect to happen when you are treating or working with animals. Sometimes you may know that they have particular conditions. Sometimes you may not. Sometimes the horse may know before even showing symptoms. It may have certain symptoms within its own body that it can't tell us about. So in this particular application with the horses, this will be a really fascinating look at how the horses will make their own selections. We learned in the last discussion about how animals know how to make these selections. They get cues both on an olfactory level, where the sensitivity to certain medicinal compounds that are within the plants will be increased. They'll be able to smell them more acutely, and they'll be able to find them in their environment easier. And by taste, the taste will change from what would normally be a bitter taste, perhaps, for some things that they may not normally eat in their environment, but that they might need due to any specific condition that they may be developing. Even as small as a cellular change in the body, that the body would be able to detect and give signal for them to begin eating these medicinal compounds that are found in the plants. So what we will be doing, we've selected, I believe, 5 or 6 different herbs. It's tough to select. The implementation of this experiment has been, it's a little tricky because all of these horses, I believe, are in fairly good health, asymptomatic of any specific condition. Is that correct, Jamie and Suzanne?
Yeah, Bonnie's got moon blindness, which is why we had her eye removed, but you know, I think she was in a lot of pain because of that, and she's not outwardly displaying signs of pain anymore. So, I mean, she is, I did catch her the other day walking in a circle, which is the sign of pain, but she has, you know, tears. So I wonder if it's just a behavior that she's been doing for so long that, you know, it was right before feeding time, and, you know, maybe it's a habit now rather than a sign of pain, but I don't know the fact.
Well, and one of the things that we have selected to offer during this experiment that we're doing with the viewers is something called Devil's Claw, which I'll talk about a little bit more later, but we do have a particular substance that we can offer for pain, so it will be very interesting to note who selects this. And I can talk a little bit more about those specific things a little bit later, but I thought I'd mention to our viewers, Suzanne, what would normally happen if I were to be working with a horse, like on an individual level. Would that be helpful?
Yes, and I also wanted to just note that the idea for these experiments arose last summer when someone talked about having a herd of horses, and they had a routine regimen of offering a variety of herbs so that the horses had a kind of a wellness program. They could select those that were available to them, because, as you stated, sometimes we can't even tell if a horse is ailing. There's no outward signs. And so what we wanted to do is to find a regimen that we could integrate into our kind of wellness program.
And I think that I'm just so fascinated that you're, and very happy for the horses, that this is something that you're looking at implementing. Perhaps your viewers, anyone that might have horses or other animals, might be able to learn something about how to help their animals maintain health. And this work, as we talked about, a number of different applications for it. One of them is not only to maintain health and wellness in your herd or in your animals, but also to give us a little bit, perhaps earlier, heads up about something that might be brewing in the animals. So I can't wait. It's going to be really fascinating.
So yes, tell us what you normally do, and then please tell us why you selected the 5. I think we have 5 herbs, don't we? Yes, and then green clay.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, 5 herbs and then green clay. Why those 5 that we're going to use the experiment on, and then how you would normally treat a horse that is symptomatic.
Okay, great. Well, normally we would work with one horse at a time, And perhaps if I'm there in the future and we do some of these sessions, of course we will broadcast them. But generally how I would begin is kind of getting the horse into a fairly quiet place, a more enclosed, perhaps in a barn or a stall or a place where it can really just focus on what it's feeling in its body. In our case, we will actually be having the horses isolated in a round pen, so they will be by themselves, so that we won't be worrying about competition of other animals with them. And I would start offering a variety of things. In our zoopharmacognosy treatments, we'll use herbs, we'll use oils, macerated oils, we'll use hydrosols, which are a water-based derivative of the distillation process for essential oils. And all of these things have a different sort of role in the process of working with an animal to really go into their subconscious, because throughout this process, this is really what we're asking the animal to do. We're asking him to really tune in. What is happening in your body? What are you tasting? What are you craving? And so we start with various things. Sometimes it's herbs. That if the horse has particular physical deficiencies in its diet, it may want to eat things that remedy these specific deficiencies before it can process further. Some essential oils and oils will actually open an animal up to healing. It will get the animal in a more relaxed state. It will kind of begin them keying into the fact that we're listening to them. It will give us a clue as to what the horse wants next. Part of what the list of things that we're offering includes dried burdock root, rose hips, dried rose hips, barley grass powder, devil's claw, which is the one that I mentioned for pain, and this is in the form of devil's claw tubers, dried tubers, chamomile flowers, and these are German chamomile flowers, and green clay that will be used a little bit differently. So in the process of a normal session or treatment with a horse, once we were in a quiet place where it could process, we'd start with offering a couple of different things. And this is part of the process that we'll be doing as well. For example, if an animal needs something for support of the liver, if you just give him one thing to support the liver, well, that may not be exactly what he needs, so he may take that. So we've offered a couple of different things for that purpose. It's always important to give them a choice when possible, because then that really helps key them into, oh, okay, you're listening to me. And it helps, again, if they're alone and isolated, to really be able to key into themselves and go, okay, what is it? What is it that I'm really drawn towards here? Of course, they don't say that, but we have to anthropomorphize a little bit. So once again, in an individual session, we would progress starting with herbs. We may offer, there are a number of different things we can offer on a dried herb basis, and that's basically what we're starting with these horses. We would then go to various different essential oils, and we might go to some hydrosols. Sometimes, depending on the route of administration that they choose, they will actually, sometimes they'll only want to inhale. Sometimes they'll want something applied topically or on their body somewhere. And we're constantly looking for clues, and this is where our viewers will be so key in this process, is that we're really watching closely. And in an individual session or in this process, we're going to really be watching slowly or very closely. What is the horse? Is the horse licking its lips? Is the horse yawning? Yawning is a big release in horses. Its body position. Is it relaxing? Is it dropping its head, its ears? Is it doing a Flehmen response? The Flehmen response is, I don't know if everyone knows what that is, but it's when a horse reaches out and opens its lips up wide. And Jamie, do you see that very much with the horses, the Flehmen response?
Bonnie does that a lot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the geldings will do it when there's a mirror and heat for sure.
Yes, and that's a really great observation, because what happens, we talked about the vomeronasal organ the other day, and what horses are doing when they do that Flehmen response and really open their lips up, they'll usually stretch their head back. My alpacas will do it. They'll pull their lip up and they'll actually turn their head all the way back. It's kind of funny to watch. But what's happening is they're getting the aromatic molecules, especially hormones of the mares. They're checking to see, are these the hormones that are telling me that it's time to mate? So they especially will use this for reproducing and for sensing those hormones, but they do also use that response for aromatic molecules in the air. So if we see them doing a Flehmen response, we really want to make a note of that. Again, yawning. A lot of horses can't yawn. So even looking at the type of yawn that they do they really get a wide open yawn? Do they open their jaw? Do they really stretch and yawn? And some horses you'll actually see will yawn and yawn and yawn. And yawning is a release. And that's a really wonderful response to whatever it is they're taking in or getting. And as these sessions, similar again to doing an individual session, we're constantly watching for what the animal is doing. We're watching the eyes, the ears, the positioning of the body, the chewing, the licking. These are all things showing that this is something an animal needs. It shows their processing. So our viewers' comments and observations will be very important in the process. In an individual consultation or working with a horse, we would probably see a little bit deeper processing. By that I mean we will see the horse literally go into its subconscious mind, which is really where a lot of change takes place. One of the keys of this work that is just so fascinating to me, and I touched on it in our video, is how healing can take place not only on a physical level, but on an emotional and memory level as well. So if you have a horse that has had a trauma in the past, and I actually think of Canner, I'm really hoping we can continue to work with Canner in this way, but we've really learned how one essential oil or one herb can heal on a physical level, but it can also heal and have an effect on an emotional memory healing level as well, because of the pathways that these aromatic molecules take in the brain. So these are all really important considerations to look for as we're watching these horses process and make their selections. On an individual consultation, we would allow the horse to go deeply into his subconscious mind and process very deeply, give it a reasonable amount of time. And I've actually worked with horses that have gone through this, and it's just fascinating. They exhibit a completely different behavior. Their eyes soften. Once they get to this place where we've really keyed in on what they need, they've made their selections, we continue offering them, the change and what happens in their body and in their whole expression, it's just fascinating to see it process in this way. And once the process is complete and they kind of start to they kind of let you know. They really do. They'll get a little antsy. They'll be done making their selections. The things that they were really responding to, they don't want anymore, and they kind of like go, okay, where are we going now? They kind of come out of it, and then you close the session working with them and offering a euphoric oil like something that they really like, sweet, something that's really fun for them. So that's how the process works on an individual level. In this case, we will still see the processing, I believe. We will still see very definite selections being made. And for our viewers, if you really can stay with each individual horse and watch them, this is where you'll see amazing things happen. You'll see some horses go to one thing first. They may go to another. They may go back. They may, they're all going to be different. And this is where we're really going to see where the real magic of zoopharmacognosy exists.
Well, I'm very excited, and you've said several things that has already caused me to think we may have to alter our plan just a little bit. A couple things. One of them is we were planning on using the round pen and the ranch camera, which is high above the round pen, looking down on. And I'm thinking that perhaps for this we need to move the mobile camera back to near the round pen, so we have a more close-up view of the animals, so that we can see them a little more distinctly in terms of their behavior. So that's one issue we may need to address. The other issue that you brought up was the need for the animal to be focused. And I have some fear that when we move the animals, particularly if they're in there for a short period of time, that they're first, and they're away from their partner. For example, Bonnie away from Clyde, or Clyde away from Bonnie, Gertie away from Maud, or Maud away from Gertie, that there's going to be an issue of separation that gets in the way of their focusing, and it could inhibit some of this. So I'm wondering if we need to have a pen close by, have their mate, if you will, close by, so that that's lessened. That stress of being separated is not a factor in their selection or in their ability to focus. And then the other thing I was hearing, it would be really helpful, and I don't know if you have access to any kind of videos that our viewers might look at to be really cognizant of the behaviors that we should be noting. The yawning, the flemming, drooping their head, their eyes hanging down, that sort of thing. So that people recognize and know to look for those particular behaviors.
Yeah, well, I think on the pictures from the moose treatment that I showed during the video, you could really see in that one slide the moose's head was low, his ears were down, his eyes were half closed, and I believe that Jamie does have some of the some videos that I've done on your site. Jamie, is there anything in particular that you can think of that
just shows those characteristics? We do have a horse video. I'm not sure. I can't recall off the top of my head if all those, what if the characteristics are displayed or not.
Yeah, I know we'll look at that and see, but basically, Suzanne, I think it would just be easiest for, instead of highlighting specific things that they should look for, just kind of leave it open and have everyone just keep, a record or note whatever they see. That way we don't put more importance on, a phlegm versus a yawn versus just licking the lips, that we just have people record, whatever they see.
Yeah, I guess I would like a combination. The statistician in me tells me that you want
We want proof. We want to know.
well that people have different ways of describing the same phenomenon is the issue. And so you want to know if you're having similar phenomenons across the animals and across observers. So I think that if we can, it would be good for us, and maybe this is something I can do, to look for some videos online. Horse phlegming, we should be able to find one I bet you there's one out there. And the other ones are pretty obvious, but I think it would be good to note them in addition to just writing down what they're seeing, because that gives you real information, comparable information.
Yeah, we should be able to find, licking the lips is just licking the lips.
Right.
That one, yeah. Yawning.
Drooping head.
Yeah. How many times does it yawn? And depending, I really like your idea about the video camera rearranging, because that will really give us a much better view of what is happening with the horses. And as long as we can get a view of, if possible, the entire pen, so that if they walk around, we'll be able to tell, are they walking around a lot? Are they, what are they doing? So that would be great. Yeah,
I think we can do that. We may want to make our pen a little bit smaller, take out a couple panels. It's a 60-foot round pen right now, I think. So we may want to make it a bit smaller. Right. But still with plenty of room.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so I'll let Jamie explain what we've got set up so far in terms of how we anticipate going about this with different, putting the herbs in different containers, and how we might want to integrate our viewers' observations. So you also had a really good time with some colored duct tape, didn't you?
We sure did.
I hope everybody saw the blog.
Yeah, I had a hard time finding 5 different colored bowls of the same shape and size, so we just did it with duct tape. Originally we had talked about putting, each herb in a specific colored duct tape bowl every time, so that our viewers would know that every time, the lime green one is the burdock root, the pink one is the rose hip, and so forth. Suzanne brought up the concern that would the different colors persuade the horses to go to a specific bowl versus, deter them from another one, or will the herb overcome the smell, overcome the color attraction?
Yeah, have you thought about that, Michelle? Because I know that horses are very sensitive to certain colors, or can be. I had a horse that was extremely sensitive to white, for example. Anything bright and white, he didn't like at all.
Interesting.
And so I just wanted to be sure that we didn't confound things by, we have a brightly yellow bull, for example, and that might be a color that they could react to. Possibly not. But I just didn't want, that the fact that we had a particular herb in yellow meant that they didn't want it just because of the color. They didn't want to go near the bowl.
Yes. Well, I personally think that their innate ability is going to override that based on their smell and sensing what it is that they need. I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but you guys know your horses way better than I do, and it's a combination of whatever is easiest for you. I know Jamie's gone to a lot of work to prepare these bowls in different colors and so forth, so I would leave that up to you, but I personally don't think, I think that we're going to see them make their selections regardless of color.
Well, then let's just stick to one color. It's easier.
That would be easiest, yeah.
Yeah.
So that everybody knows which herb is in which colored bowl. And
Right.
yeah. So we had talked about for the schedule starting next week on Wednesday. So that's February 18th. And doing the trials between 10 and 3 o'clock every day, or Monday, Thursday, Friday. And then we'll continue the following week. We'll do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, not Tuesday.
So next week we'll start on Wednesday, though. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday
Of next week.
and then the following week, Monday,
Monday.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And
Okay.
I have put it all up on our calendar, which is on the website. And I've just blocked out that chunk of time, Zoopharmacognosy trials.
Okay.
And you and I had talked about running through the horses twice. So
Mhm.
we'll run everybody through one time, half an hour to an hour, depending if they continue to go back to the herbs, or if they're done after half an hour, we'll pull them out.
Mhm.
So,
And that I think, Suzanne, you were concerned about the separation issue with the pairs. I think if it, the half an hour, if there is an issue with separation, they're going to probably make their selections fairly quickly and get back over to where they're close to their partner. So we can be flexible with that if you're seeing, some issue with separation. But I think that's a good guideline to start with, Jamie.
okay.
And you would want this, the reason she chose that time period is that's well after they have had their hay.
For breakfast.
Yeah, so it's not a hunger issue that's driving them. It'd be right after they've had their...
Right. So, and Suzanne and I talked about maybe trying to put them through 3 times. So for her statistician satisfying desires, you have 3 points on a graph rather than 2.
Whatever you guys decide, I think it's great. I mean, the more the better, because if there are things that they need and they have more opportunity to get them, great for the horses. If they've been satiated or if they are done, if it works either way. So, but the more the better, because there is benefit to all of the herbs we're offering.
Sure. Well, we'll start with 3. We'll see, we've got 2 weeks allotted. We'll see if we need to go into a 3rd week or not. And if we do, I'll update the calendar with the blocks of time that we're going to do that. But it'll probably be a similar schedule, 10 to 3, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
And we've created a Google document spreadsheet that we'll have on the website, so all of our members have access to it and can jot down all the information, the date, the time, the horse, the herb that they select, the amount of time, behaviors. What else do we do? Length of time spent on the herb. We even note color of the bowl, just in case.
Very good. Yeah, and the easier we can make it for the viewers, the better. Any information that anyone feels is important to note, please feel free to share it. I don't know how much room we have in this document, but for example, if you note that they went over and went to the bathroom and then they went to the bathroom again, or another horse was coming at them there was some distraction that interrupted their selections. I mean, feel free to make note of all of that because it'll all be important.
We're going to separate them pretty well, so I won't have any other. All the horses, we're going to do the trials in the round pen, and I won't have any other horses that could get to them, just for keeping the herbs available just to that one horse and any of those distractions. So.
Great.
Okay.
Now,
I know the comment section.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
And I don't know if we've thought. I'm trying to think of what else could we be thinking of as an eventuality. The only thing I could think of is maybe rain or snow or sleet. If something happens that it's raining torrentially, or if you need to make an adjustment for that, or put them, in a place where they're covered so that they're not getting soaked and all the herbs and everything aren't getting soaked. I mean, that's just something to think about, I think, if we do have a situation like that. But hopefully Mother Nature will cooperate in what we think is cooperation for this couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah, I think we can skip a day. I mean, what we can do is move it. We're not bound to. I mean, if we have a particularly bad weather day, we should just not do it.
Yeah.
And the days like we've been having would be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree. We're going to have to be flexible. Everything we do out here, Michelle, is what we call on ranch time.
Yeah.
Ranch time means flexible.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing we talked about, Michelle, is starting with a cup of each herb for the horses to select from, and measuring that out and putting in a cup for everybody at the beginning, and then at the end measuring out, of the ones that were selected, how much is left over. So I'll be noting that.
Okay, that's good. I do have a couple adjustments to that since we talked, Jamie. A cup for the burdock is good. A cup for rosehip is good. Barley grass is a very fine powder, and I haven't gone through and talked about all these yet, but I'll do that when you're done so people know why we're offering what we're offering. But a cup of barley grass powder, it's a very fine powder, and that's quite a bit. We may adjust that a little bit, and we may want to go with a half a cup of barley grass and add a little bit of water to it. We don't want to mix it completely. We just want to have a little bit of water, maybe pour it in one side of the bowl. Sometimes they'll want it dry. Sometimes they'll want it with water in it. And every animal makes their own selections differently. The devil's claw will be, did you get the devil's claw in the tubers? Is it chocolate?
I don't remember off the top of my head what it looks like, but I ordered the devil claw root.
Okay, so we need to figure out what form that is in. It may be, I don't know if it's a powder or if it's in, cut tubers.
Right.
That one we'll definitely want to.
I'll have to take a look at it again.
Okay, the chamomile flowers, a cup may not be enough. Oh, I've seen a horse eat 4 cups of chamomile flowers just like that because they love them. They're very calming to them. A lot of times they'll start a session with them. So we may want to go with 2 cups on that. I'll leave it up to you. If you're seeing that they're just going through them very quickly, we may want to go right up to 2 cups. And then the clay, we'll talk about that, about what we can do with that separately.
I think that we've covered all of my plans and our concerns.
Yeah, I suggest that we meet again on Skype, or maybe Jamie and I can do a live stream with you on the phone out next Tuesday with the camera set up. Give us a week to move the camera, and maybe change the round pen, get the bowls set up so we can walk people through what this is going to look like, and bring you in on the telephone while we're mic'd up and talk about exactly what it's going to look like. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's fine. And I can either go over at that time what all these different things are for, or I can do it now, whatever you prefer. Because I haven't really talked about why we're offering these particular things, but it's up to you. Whichever time you prefer is fine with me.
I would actually like to have something written that we can post so that people can refer to it. So
Okay.
Do you have something that you can send us, number one?
Yeah.
And let's post it and people can read it, and then they might have questions about
Sure.
it. Does that make sense?
Do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And let's just see if there are any questions from viewers now. Can you look, Mackenzie, on the chat to see if there are any questions from viewers?
Yep, we have a couple of questions. for you guys here. Let's see. I got to scroll up. Give me 1 second. Okay, I think the first question came from Gabby. And she was just wondering if Bonnie circles, if she's doing that Fleming response. It's a Fleming response, right?
Yes.
That's Flehmen. Flehmen.
Oh, great. Well, that was the next question. Can you spell it one more time?
Yes, Flehmen.
Fleming. Okay. I imagine that's probably one of the first people who observed and documented it. Is that right?
Could be. I don't know.
All right. Anyways, so she was just wondering if Bonnie might be doing that for to help with like smelling for her lack of sight. She was
Very
asking.
well could be. Good observation.
Yeah, that's from Gabby. And if you guys have any thoughts on that, let's see what's next. Oh, they were wondering if the smell of the duct tape and the adhesive might interfere with the trials.
That's a good question too. Jamie, I couldn't tell exactly where the duct tape is. Is it? Where do you have the duct tape in relation to the bowls?
Everywhere but the bottom of the bowl that goes on the ground. So it's inside and on the sides.
Oh, it is on the inside of the bowl too.
Yep.
Okay.
You can test for that pretty easily by just offering the duct tape bowl with other bowls without duct tape and see if people prefer it without any, or if the animals prefer it without anything in it. And then you know that it's building attraction of its own accord. I don't know if that helps us at all, but that's just a thought.
Well, it will affect because as we talked about the number of sensory neurons for olfaction for animals, there is quite a bit more. So they are going to smell that chemical smell of the tape. It just depends on how we don't know how it's going to affect. The one thing we do know is we don't want this stuff in metal bowls. Are these plastic bowls, Jamie, that you've got, or?
Yes.
Yeah, the rubber.
Yeah, those same rubber ones that were used during the trials when Caroline was here. The black. We just wanted to distinguish between them. I'm wondering if we could line the area where the herb is with something that would let's think about this. I think it's an issue I hadn't thought of before. I think it's a really good issue.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you. And I hadn't noticed what the bowls look like. I just saw that one picture, so it was hard to tell. But
I liked Mackenzie's suggestion, and that is we routinely give Bonnie grain, etc. We could try using a bowl with duct tape versus a bowl without duct tape, and see if if the smell is bothering her in any way, if she avoids it. I don't know how, that's a...
Yeah, I don't know with horses. I know that with dogs, they, I mean, it's been shown that they can differentiate scent like up to 8 scents in any one thing. So they can select out, a grenade versus a bullet or something like that based on the kind of explosive inside of it. And that's selecting around all the other things that are composed in there for the specific gunpowder in there. So I would think that with horses, I just imagine because they do have so many more neuroreceptors coordinated with their scent, that they probably have a very articulated idea of it. It's just a question of if the adhesive is somehow more attracting or repellent. And I think just testing everybody with it without anything in there and see if they just seek out. I mean, I guess if they seek out all the bowls equally, then the individual stuff. I don't know. It's a good question. It's complicated.
Yeah, it is. And one thing I would do, Jamie, is make sure all of these bowls are all out separate. If you can leave them outside where they're really exposed to the air, if there's any chemical off-gassing, that is going to be done with this tape, the more they're exposed to the elements and to the air, the more these chemicals in the tape are going to dissipate, and we're not going to have that as much of an issue. If they're kept all stacked together in a in the corner of a room or something, they're not going to have the opportunity to really off gas like they would if you have them all outside separated. That will help.
Yeah.
Sure, do that.
Yeah. That was a very good question. Thank you. Whose question was that?
That was from Gabby. She was talking about how her cat is addicted to the adhesive on sticky notes.
Oh, that's a good observation. Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I'm scrolling back through to look for another question. Give me 1 second. I thought there was.
While you're looking, Mackenzie, I just had a thought, and I don't want to cause Jamie more work for slap me from a distance if I'm if she's already going. But do you have other bowls of the same kind that don't have tape on the inside, that maybe just have tape on the outside, that we could see, if they are showing a preference for one or the other? And the other question is, if you do use the bowls, like you said, Bonnie will eat out of whatever. Don't use grain, because they'll tend to go to grain. They don't care if it's in your boot. I mean, they'll go to grain no matter what. But use something maybe that isn't quite as an attractant, to see if they do show a difference.
All right.
I do have a black bowl that doesn't have any tape on it that
You could just put the black bowl, on top of the taped ones, and then everybody can still see the tape, and the black bowl doesn't have anything inside of it.
I would have to buy more black bowls.
Yeah, but that's inexpensive. I mean, they're small black bowls.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable suggestion, Mackenzie.
Good idea.
To get the black bowl inside, we can put them together. People will see the outside of the bowl. This is an issue I hadn't thought about before, but I think it's a really important issue, particularly since we're asking the horses to use their sense of smell. Mm-hmm. And the adhesive, is I think it's.
I can take a bowl out to Gertie and Maud and see what they think of it.
Yeah, that's easy.
An empty bowl.
Yeah.
We have 5 black empty bowls left.
No.
We have a couple.
I would just put like even water in them both, and just one has the tape and one doesn't. And if they're fighting over them, they'll fight each other if they think it's valuable, and well, they'll tell us right away if there's any sort of flavor.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, whoever.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's got some ideas on.
Yeah, that's what's so wonderful about this being a community project, because a question like that we hadn't thought of could have a big impact possibly. So your input and your involvement is important. All of you that are watching and listening, so that we're all learning together. So thank you.
Yeah, there were some different suggestions too, with maybe just also putting like a letter on the ground for each of the things to help differentiate, so that's not just color oriented. Like that was Kukui's suggestion. Kukui.
A letter
I could hang a letter on the round pen
above the bowl.
Above the bowl.
Right, because on the ground I don't think you'll see that with the camera.
Okay, yeah, that's just a thought to help make it clear what's in which one.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, everybody's talking about Bengay now, and how their cats love Bengay.
Oh,
Bengay's joint treatment, right? I don't ever use it.
Yeah, and Bengay has. I mean, I don't use Bengay, but one of the things that Bengay probably has in it is something similar to wintergreen or eucalyptus or camphor, which are all anti-inflammatories. Wintergreen cats will sometimes take or will sometimes inhale if they're in pain, but I would caution people to don't ever put Bengay, any essential oil, anything on your cats, because cats do not process essential oils. They don't have the chemical in their bloodstream to process essential oils, and they can very easily reach toxic levels if applied or given in anything other than very limited and based on an animal's selection. So especially with felines, we don't recommend giving them essential oils unless you're really trained in knowing how to do that, or anything like being gayed. Even though the cat may show an interest, don't think that it wants it put on its body just because it's interested in you having it on your body.
Well, that's a great note of caution, Michelle. Helpful. Thanks.
That seems to be doing it for questions for now. I did try some valerian root with one of the dogs that I work with, and he seems to be appreciating and enjoying it. I offered him several of the calming herbs that you were talking about just because he was having a hard time with car rides. So that's I'll keep you updated on that story.
That's you, Mackenzie?
Yep. Yeah, a dog that I was working with. I mean, he's a screamer in the car, and we've had a lot of progress, but I thought we should try that for something new, you know. So I went down to Meadowsweet. I was also just wondering really quickly, Jamie, where you got all the herbs and stuff from.
Oh, I ordered them offline. PacificBotanical.com. And Michelle, you sent me somewhere. Is that where you sent me?
Yeah, well, that's a good one. Mountain Rose Herbs is also a really good source, and they have very high quality botanical products. Frontier Natural Co-op has them as well. You have to, you can do a co-op with a minimum, then they will send you, you know, all your stuff free shipping if you want to start a co-op, but you can order things, just a pound of this or a pound of that. All of their bulk herbs come in a minimum of 1 pound. They're not that expensive, though, even if you get a pound. I think Mountain Rose does have smaller quantities, and I'm not sure if is the one that you ordered from, Jamie, have less than a pound as well?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Well, those are all good options for you to check. But Mountain Rose and the one that Jamie ordered from, you can just Google them, and they'll have lots of not only what's available, but lots of good information, too.
Well, the last thing that these guys wanted you guys to know is that they did not put it on the cats. This is just smelling it on the people. So.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, they knew better. I wouldn't have known better. I would have just smothered them with it.
Well, people think that
much.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Just as an aside, if we have a second to make an observation, and I found this in working with the zoo animals. People, you know, we with zoo animals or captive animals, you want to provide a stimulating environment. So we have, in the zoo world, they call that enrichment. And we have olfactory enrichment, we have dietary enrichment, facility, social, play, forage, all different kinds of enrichment. So for the enrichment for olfactory, people would bring in these nasty, smelly perfumes and body sprays and all these weird things that I don't even know where they get these things, but it says right on the bottle, do not let animals, do not give these to animals. If children get them, call poison control. I mean, they're obviously very toxic, but they have this crazy smell. So the response of the veterinarian was, well, as long as they're only smelling it, that's okay, as long as they're not eating it. So the part of the research that I presented the other day on olfactory was exactly what I shared with the veterinarians for the zoo and the curators, because what we have learned that because olfactory is so much stronger a sense than taste, and it's so much more a direct link to the brain, literally, and the bloodstream, olfactory is way more an important process to be careful with, even than something that's taken orally and digested. When animals eat something and it goes through their digestive tract. As you know, there's various acids and so forth that break down the chemical constituents of those things that they eat. But when they smell something, it goes directly to the brain in a very short period of time. So we tend to think, well, he's not eating it, so it's okay, he's just smelling it. But I do want to caution all of your viewers that the sense of smell is very, very important in what we're exposing our animals to. And those of you who perhaps have like those Glade room fresheners or candles going or diffusers and so forth, those can be much more significant as far as the amount that's built up in the blood of these chemical constituents for animals than for us. So just keep your pet animals in mind when you're using all of these kinds of things that are air fresheners for the room. Essential oils in a diffuser, to us, they don't smell very much, but of course animal sense of smell is much more keen and more sensitive, especially with felines. I can't stress enough, because felines do have a little bit different chemical processing system. They can't break things down, and if they're smelling them, these chemicals are building up in their blood systems. So be really careful. Anything that Glade makes that plugs into a wall that has a smell, I think should be banned by all pet owners, because it's all synthetic. It's all synthetic smells. It's not anything real that came from nature. It's all produced out of a laboratory. And I just don't even think that anybody who has animals should ever use them. So just be really aware of those kinds of things for your animals. It may smell nice to us, but for an animal, if they don't have an escape route or a different room that they can go to, or an open window or something, these chemicals can be very irritating to them.
Thank you. Very good information. We should do more of this, Michelle. I mean, for each species, because I think our viewers would appreciate the information, and I think it's a really good discussion.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and people really don't know about this, and it's really nice to see the sensitivity of some of your listeners and viewers here, because they obviously are keyed into these kinds of things, and hopefully we'll educate people a little bit more, and they're obviously educating us too.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm wondering if we should start a little earlier next Tuesday, if we're going to go over the facilities that we're going to be using. What about 3 o'clock for you? Or maybe 2:30? Would 2:30 be better, Jamie?
Yeah, I just got to feed the horses.
Right. So if we were done by 3:30, we'd be fine?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is that good for you, Michelle? 2:30 our time? That would make it 12:30 your time?
Yes, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Let's put it on our calendar, because then we will have light outside, and we can we'll get you on the phone, Michelle, and we'll get on the live stream so that we can show people and make sure everybody can see everything before we get people collecting data.
Okay.
And you can see our setup.
That would be the 17th at.
Yes.
So what time again? I'm sorry.
2:30 Mountain Time. I think
Okay.
you're 2 hours ahead behind us, are you not?
Yes.
What time is it there now? 4 o'clock?
Right now it is, yes, 4:03.
That's right. 6:03 here.
12:30 my time. Okay?
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week. And thanks for hanging out with us, everyone, and watching.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
I'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
Okay.
I'll
Bye.
have the ranch camera back up here in just a minute, everyone. So if you want to refresh in about a minute or two, it should be up and running again. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.